Hello, friends and family of our football classes. Professor coming to you again. We're going to look at week 11 of the NCAA. A lot of injuries I'm noticing this week, and then a lot of coming up because as we get closer to the finals, right? So your conference championships are being decided, who's going to play in them and that. So we have some good key games there. I don't like this Tuesday MAC thing. I looked at it, and it's just the problem is it's so hard because it's Tuesday, and they're used to playing Saturdays, and I don't care what you do. It's just very hard to prepare for Tuesdays. So I just watched yesterday's Buffalo. I think their quarterback's out. They just don't. They're gone this year. I'm off of them. Ohio looks like a good team, and then Akron's supposed to be terrible. Puts up a 40. So the Z teams are again just you're looking at the scores and stats and things like that. So I'm not looking at tonight's games. Again, they're MAC, and again, I can tell you what they are, but I'm not playing them. Toledo's a B team playing Bowling Green's a double W. You can see Toledo's a 10-point favorite. Bowling Green's got a weak defense. You would think Toledo would be a good play there. You've got Kent and Central, two over teams playing. Kent look pretty good. They look like they can score a lot. Central scores a lot. Over under 75. Probably an over. Kent's got a good offense and a weak defense. Central, probably a pretty weak defense. It's just not 30. That game should go over. And then the Ball State, Northern Illinois. Ball State's even. Northern Illinois is an over. Northern Illinois, Lombardi's questionable. The quarterback, they got a weak defense. And Ball State's favorite. Ball State seems to play well. So, again, maybe you take Ball State there. But, again, these games are too hard. They're so inconsistent that it's hard to play them. You can't really get a rhythm on it. North Carolina, Pitt. On Thursday, Pitt laying 6.5. North Carolina is an over team with a weak defense. Excuse me. I kind of like Pitt in the game. Pitt's the A team. North Carolina's the over team. So North Carolina scores, but doesn't have a defense, as you saw for the Wake Forest game. Pitt's got a better defense. Pitt did lose to, Wake? It was Wake, I think. So it'll be a pretty high-scoring game. It's over under 72, I believe. Do I like Pitt even? That's a good question. I don't know yet. Still trying to feel it out. North Carolina will probably lose the game because it's at Pitt, and Pitt needs the game for the conference. So we'll go through that after. Cincinnati 23 over South Florida. I don't know with Cincinnati. They should have blown out Tulsa and Tulane, and they don't. Now they go to South Florida. South Florida's got a terrible defense, but it doesn't look like Cincinnati they've had Tulane and Tulsa had weak defenses. And they scored in the 30s. And it's not like they're shutting them out with their defense. So I don't know what's going on. The running back Ford is questionable for Cincinnati. I'm not going to chase them again. I've chased them a couple times. They have to win for the Bulls, and they don't seem to blow out. They'll probably blow out Houston when they really need it, but right now they're just not blowing out the team, especially at South Florida. Let's see, West Virginia, K-State. K-State came through for me, blown out Kansas, which they always do. So that's what you're looking for. K-State blowing out Kansas, automatic. Now you got them at home against West Virginia, and they should win, but again, it gets a little bit tougher. Coastal Carolina, 10.5 over Georgia State. They should kill them, except for the quarterback's out. My man McCall is out. So now you got the backup, and you don't know what the backup's going to do because we've never seen him. He could be like Van Dyke in Miami, or he could be like somebody else, who doesn't play well. Oh, God. As soon as I start talking to you guys, I get tired. Coastal Carolina, 10.5. See, how do you lay 10.5? So then the next thought is, okay, we don't know anything about the new quarterback. Probably go under in the game. Coastal Carolina's an A. They got a good defense. Georgia State, a W with the weak defense. What do you do? So normally this would have been a lock. Coastal Carolina, I had them by 21. The spread's 10 because the quarterback's out. Well, obviously my spread was, I didn't know the quarterback was out at the time I make this. I make the spreads like Sunday. As soon as I see the game, I don't look at the spread. I make my own spread. And then when the spread comes out, I can see where it's different. So 10.5, out the quarterback, over under 52 against the W team with the weak defense. Yeah, I mean, Coastal Carolina wasn't lighting it up with Grace McCall anyway. So I see it probably an under is the best way to go because you don't know what the backup quarterback's going to do. Connecticut and Clemson. Are you kidding me? Clemson 41 with an over-under of 51. What the hell does that mean? You're better off taking the over-under 57 than you are laying the points because Connecticut's not going to score here. Connecticut, there's no way they're going to score. There's no way Connecticut scores. That makes the under a good play, 51. Connecticut, this will be the game Clemson puts up 40 or 50 points. But so here Connecticut won't score. So it's just 50-0. Is it going to be 60-0? And that's what you're looking at. They started to wake up a little bit last week. Clemson put up a 30 to get the W this week. I don't know. How do they? Well, no, Connecticut is in the league, I think. No, Connecticut is in the other conference, so they're in the Cincinnati conference. I'm surprised they're playing. Of all the teams to choose, let's play Connecticut. You might as well play a MAC team or Division II team. So I don't know. Again, I'm not laying 41 with this Clemson offense, but I think under 57 is probably good. Again, it's going to be all Clemson. They'll shut them out. 50-0, somewhere in that neighborhood. Because they'll take it out on them. They'll finally score, and they'll start scoring. Iowa 5.5 over Minnesota. Quarterback's out for Iowa. Gone out. So now the backup against Minnesota. I like Minnesota here. They move the over down to 37. How do you bet? How do you go under 37? You make it a 43. So I like Minnesota without the Iowa quarterback. Should be a low scoring. Oh my God! Pardon me, please. Should be a low scoring game, but in that type of situation, Minnesota could easily win, and so I like the points there. Virginia Tech, Duke. Duke's terrible. Virginia Tech's quarterback's questionable. Duke's the W with the weak defense. Virginia Tech should light them up if the quarterback plays. Had Pitt over Duke last week where Pitt, well, it was close and then Pitt blew them out. So I think you'll see the similar thing. Penn State, Michigan. I see both teams favored by 1 or a half. Over under 48. The running back that got hurt for Michigan is probable, so he's playing. Funny how you play Penn State, everybody's healthy. Except for the Bell, the receiver who hurt himself in week 1. I like the dog here. My spread was Michigan -3. I'm going to go with Michigan +7 as Penn State's a 1-point favorite. In this game, Michigan plays Penn State extremely well when healthy. And this year they'll play them very well. Penn State, very good team. The over 48 down to 42 looks very tempting. Michigan should score in the 30s. Penn State should get it. It should be a 60-point game. So I do like it over. 40 over 48 means over 42 in teaser world. And I really don't. This is not that type of defensive struggle. I mean, Penn State put up they have a good defense, but they put up, what did they play Ohio State to? It was like 33-24 is like a 57. That's about what I see here. Michigan will get upper 20s to low 30s. Penn State will be right there with them. It'll be a close game. So I like the dog and I like the over. Indiana, lane 7. Indiana has their first 3 quarterbacks out. They played Michigan with a rookie, a freshman, a 4th stringer. How are they favored over Rutgers? I don't know. This game can only be bet under because Indy's not going to score. They got a pretty good defense, but actually they got a weak defense. But Rutgers is a good under team, and Indiana is not going to score. So it's going to be in the low 20s. Here you got 42. You go under 48. Probably the best play, or you take Rutgers in the 13, but it's hard to really trust Rutgers. So it's more of an under game. Houston, 25 over Temple. Over under a 54. Temple's a Z team with a weak defense. Houston needs the game for their conference. It's going to be them and Cincinnati because they beat SMU for that title. And I believe they're both undefeated, which means the winner possibly can make the bowl, the playoff. That's where Cincinnati's going to need to beat Houston and then need to kill in their conference title game. And that's what I think you'll see. So I think Houston here at Temple in a must win, 25 down to 19 or over 54. Well, with Temple's defense, Houston should light it up pretty good. Temple being a Z, you count on them for 10, so you count on Houston for 40s, 50. You can probably hit the over. If you take Houston minus 19, they got to win by 21 again against a weak Temple team. Well, let's see what happened with Temple and Houston last week, just to get a little flavor into it. Bear with me while I get my teams. Temple lost to Eastcar, who's a good offense, 45-3, which tells you all you need to know there. Houston, who did they beat? Houston. I don't see Houston on the map. Okay, they played South Florida to 54-42. So what you get out of it is Houston is scoring. Okay, they put up a 54, so now they're getting numbers against South Florida. But look at South Florida put up 42. So that's where I see. So when I look at this game now, where am I? So Houston's 25. So I like Houston a lot. Temple's going to just give up a ton. Houston needs the game, but now Houston's scoring, which is good. Can we count on Temple to score? No, we can't because they didn't score on East Carolina. Houston's a much better team, so Temple won't score. Houston will probably get at least in the 40s. They might win 40-0, not covering the over, which is 54, goes over 48. So when you bet an over, you've got to rely on both teams to score. You can't rely on Temple to score. Houston will score, but then you say, well, if Temple won't score, Houston's going to score a lot. I'm only got to lay 19 versus an over under 48. So I got to get to 48, and Houston's got to get most of the points. Where here, I only needs 19, which I feel will be a no-brainer. So let's go with Houston there. And lay the 19. I think that keep that under 21. I think you're fine. Michigan State off of a loss. So we're gonna put our little notes off of a loss. And our first team off of a loss is Michigan State. We know Fresno State. We know Nevada. I think Nevada might have won last week. Yeah, Nevada did win, so I'm taking them off. So Michigan State, Fresno State, I know. Baylor. and we'll get on as we go. So Michigan State minus 13 off of a loss, must win this game to have any hope of the playoff. They lost to Purdue, who's a very good team, much better. And Purdue beat Oregon State. At first, I thought it was a fluke. Now I'm beginning to think Purdue's really good to beat Oregon State like that. It was 27-21. I think Oregon State had their other quarterback in. Now they'd have a hard time beating Oregon State. But Maryland stinks. They got a weak defense. Tagovailoa throw 3-4 interceptions. Michigan State killed Western Kentucky, who's a big passing team. So Michigan State won't have trouble against Maryland, who doesn't run the ball. A weak defense. A must-win game to have any hope. They got Ohio State coming up and Penn State coming up. So Michigan State must win. And, that, okay, they beat Michigan. They were a little flat last week. They go to Purdue. Now they're at home against the team that they're going to they should run up and down the field on. This team has no defense. And Tagovailoa, they'll just put pressure on him. I look for this game to get messy. Take Michigan State, lay the 7. Over and under 62. This game has to be more of an over game because of Maryland, the weak defense, and they can score. But I'm not going to mess with that. I'm just going to take State minus the 7. I think it's easier for State to win by 20 than it is to cover the 56. It could happen, but it's this is a better play. Louisville 3 over Syracuse. I like Syracuse. They're a very good team. Louisville, the quarterback's questionable with an ankle. Cunningham, the guy who almost beat Clemson. So he's just a running. It's like Lamar Jackson's back at Louisville. So he's a good running quarterback, not a great passing quarterback. They're laying 3. I like Syracuse in 9, especially if the quarterback's. See, here's the problem. He's questionable. What does that mean? It means he's probably playing, but we don't get that filter. Even on Saturday, if I go into covers and I go injuries, they don't update it Saturday morning. So this is when you look at the spread. If the spread moves down to 1, he's not playing. He'll probably play. You assume he's playing because he's questionable. I assume everybody questionable plays. They're either out or they're questionable, probable. If they're out, they're out. If they're questionable, probable, they're playing. I got to assume he plays. I still like Syracuse in the 9 here. I just think they're a very good football team. They're a B team. Louisville doesn't have that great of a defense, and Syracuse has been playing very good ball. They had Clemson 17-14, so I like that. Oak State 13 over TCU. What do you do here? TCU's coach is fired. They beat Baylor. Okay, Oak State minus 13. They've got 1 loss. They got to keep winning, and then they get Oklahoma. I think Oklahoma's Thanksgiving week for them. You got Michigan, Ohio State, Oklahoma State, Washington State, Oregon State. Usually all Thanksgiving week. And here I like over under 54. Oak State minus 13. You got a weak defense with TCU. They brought in a different quarterback who scored. Let's see what TCU did last week. 30-28 against a good Baylor team. So they held them to 30, which is more surprising than they held them to 28, which is more surprising than they scored 30. So if they score 30 on Baylor, Oak State's got a much, much better defense, very strong defense here. So you got to be careful with this. Probably over 48, I think. Well, it's a tough one because Oak State's defense is good, but they've been scoring and with TCU's weak defense. What did Oak State do last week? That's another team off of a loss is Oregon State. What did Oak State? Oak State killed West Virginia 24-3. See, there's my point. They beat West Virginia 24-3. West Virginia's a good offense, only gets 3 points. So I don't know if I can go over here. But TCU's got such a bad team. So if I look at West Virginia, West Virginia is a B team, so they got a good defense. So two good defenses. The game went under 24-3. The fact they scored 24 in West Virginia is a pretty good thing, as well as they were a road favorite. Yeah, they were a 3-point favorite on the road, and they cover and win pretty easily. Here you're laying 13 at home against a team with a weak defense. I think I like Oak State -7. But TCU does have a new quarterback, so beware of that. I think Oak State's defense wins this game. It's don't go over 7 on it though. If you can get a 6.5 or a 7, you'll probably be okay. Kansas, Texas lane 30. Over under is 62. Both quarterbacks are questionable. The running back from Texas is questionable. The superstar. Now, both teams have a terrible defense. So this would have been a lock over if both quarterbacks play, because Texas is going to put up 45, 50 points, and Kansas probably gets 15 against this Texas defense. So again, it's over under 62, Texas -30. I'm not touching this game unless I know Texas's quarterbacks and running back are going to play. If they play, I don't care about Kansas's quarterback Bean playing. I'm going to take Texas. Texas will kill them. Kansas State killed them. That was one of my strong plays last week. Kansas State wins 35-10, but Kansas State's got a really good defense. But 35-10, that's a 45. And where was that over-under? That over-under was 55. See, that's where, even with the weak defense, Kansas State gets 35. Their ball control, Kansas gets 10. They probably knocked the quarterback out, knowing Kansas State. So here, it's a different animal. Texas will score 50 with the good quarterback. So probably go over more so than do you want to lay 24.5 with Texas without their quarterback and running back, or they're both questionable. So normally this would have been I'd be all over Texas. Really betting against Kansas is what I like to do. Very strong game here. North Carolina State, Wake Forest. Wake Forest off of a loss. So they lost. They blew a big lead against North Carolina. That was my lock. Wake Forest getting points. Here they're laying 2. Over under is 66. North Carolina State's an A team. They got a good defense. That's going to keep Wake Forest in check. As you see from Ohio State, teams with good defenses can hold the strong offensive team in check. Again, against Oregon, Ohio State scored 28. Against Penn State, they got 33, which is holding them in check. When they played Maryland and Indy, they put up 50s. So that's the difference. That's why we look at the weak defense. That's what you want against a good offense. Then they're not going to have any problems. Here, Wake could have problems because of NC State's defense. Very strong defense. They're an A team. So normally in this situation, I would tease the dog. I would take NC State in the 8. Over under a 66. Wake Forest, we know, is an over team. NC State, the question is, how strong is their defense hold Wake Forest? Are they going to keep them to field goals? And is NC State going to run the ball a lot? So I can't touch the over 66 when you got an A team involved. When you got an A team, you got they can run the ball. They got good defense. You're not going to score a lot. They're going to keep Wake Forest off the field, my guess. So you almost, if you play this, it's NC State plus the 8. I don't really want to go against Wake Forest, and North Carolina just outscored them. NC State's got a very good quarterback, Lindley. Very good defense. So it's a hard one. Let's go to the numbers here. Let's get a better flavor of this game. Come on. All right, NC State. Okay, so let's see. Wake Forest scores 44 but gives up 28. So they went from a strong, solid B to an over. And again, it gets exaggerated against North Carolina, where they put up 50 points. So, but the other thing was Army put up 49 on them. So something's going on with their defense. They get 500 yards of offense, but they throw for 320, but they run for 188, and Hartman runs for a couple touchdowns. So this is a very explosive team playing North Carolina State. And I got them as an A team. They score 31, but they only give up 16, and those are dangerous. Devin Leary's the quarterback. Good running balance. He throws for 278. He runs for 137. They got two good runners, Knight and Pearson. They get 415. So look for NC State to use their defense and run. The fact they get 31, but I think they played Clemson. So if Wake didn't play Clemson, and I don't know that they did, I don't remember them, but NC State did, it skews up their offense a little bit. So had Wake played them. Well, look at Pitt. Pitt averaged 51, played them, put up 27. So let's say Wake puts up, they should easily get into the 20s there. I can't imagine them not scoring 20. NC State's defense is 16, but NC State has the best defense in the ACC at 16, and Clemson 16 too. So let's say it's Clemson. Would you take Wake Forest against Clemson? And Wake Forest is the favorite. I would probably Clemson with a good quarterback, that is. So you got NC State with a good quarterback. I think you got to take NC State in the 8. I think you got to take the A team. And see and have them win. Let's look at conference. Let's look at the standings. So when I pull up the standings, so Wake Forest is 5-0, 8-1. NC State's 4-1, 7-2. So in conference, it makes sense. NC State needs the game. This is a playoff game in the conference. Clemson's got 2 losses. Pitt's 4-1, who lost to my Wake Forest. I think Wake Forest beat them. And then you got Virginia. Miami's coming up fast, and even North Carolina's 3-3. So the Z team here is Duke, and Boston College isn't that good. So when you look at the conference, it's Wake Forest, North Carolina State. The winner plays Pitt, probably, maybe Miami, maybe Virginia. I mean, they're the only 3 from the other division. Clemson's probably out of it. I think NC State beat them, so that would put Clemson out of it. So this is really for all the marbles. What tends to happen is it tends to be a closer game. The game is at Wake. Very tough one. So it's a tough call. I think you got to take NC State in 8, as long as you get over a touchdown. I don't see how you go over 66 in a big kind of playoff game with an A defense that gives up 16. I don't think you can go over. I go over when both teams have weak defenses. Like Texas, Kansas, I could see going over because you don't have any defense on the field, but not here. Oklahoma, Baylor, Oklahoma minus 5.5, over under 63. So let's get to it. Oklahoma 6-0 in the conference. Baylor 4-2. Oak State 5-1. I think they lost to Baylor. Oak State. I know Iowa State, I think, beat Baylor. I don't think Oklahoma's played Iowa State. Well, they're playing Baylor now, and I know they didn't play Oklahoma. So the top 3 teams Oklahoma hasn't played, right? We know they haven't played Oak State. They're playing Baylor now, and I don't believe they played maybe they played Iowa State, but I don't think so. So here you got Baylor 5.5, or Oklahoma 5.5, 63. Baylor's just too dynamic offensively that they're going to get blown out. I find Oklahoma does not really blow out anybody. Yeah, they did a quarterback switch. Baylor's seen that before with all the others. Well, let's look at last week. Baylor, all right, they lose to TCU 30-28. Apparently looking ahead to Oklahoma. What did Oklahoma do? Oklahoma Where are they? Did they play? Maybe they didn't play. Struggling to find Oklahoma. I see Oak State, Ohio State. I guess they didn't play. We'll have to go back another week. Week 9. So 2 weeks ago, Oklahoma beats Texas Tech 52-21. Well, that doesn't mean anything. Texas Tech has no defense. So Texas Tech is an over team and a weak defense. So for them to put up 52 doesn't mean anything. But here against Baylor off of a loss, so they need it. Again, they're 4-2. So look for Baylor. They're pretty much, they have a slim chance. Oklahoma, problem is if Oklahoma State beats Oklahoma has 2 losses, but Oak State has 1. So this is like, they're going to play real tough. They have to. And then just being at home, and it's Oklahoma. So look for Baylor to play a good game off of a loss against a big rival. I like Baylor in 11.5 here. That's ridiculous. I've liked Baylor with their great running backs, good quarterback, Boheman, very strong team. They're an A team. Oklahoma's an over. So let's look at that. So when I get into it, why do I like Baylor? Come on. So when I look at it, Baylor scores 36, gives up 20 points. Baylor's every bit as strong as Oklahoma. Oklahoma 43 gives up 24. And as I said, Oklahoma has not played. I don't believe they played Iowa State or Oak State. Oak State gives up 16 a game. Iowa State 18. Baylor 20. So here's Oklahoma giving up 24. So I don't look at that. Oklahoma gets 477 a game, but again, they made the quarterback switch to Caleb Williams. Baylor gets 457. They get 230 passing and 220 running. Notice how that's changed from the out of conference to the conference. So the conference has gotten a little bit more tough for them. But again, they get 457, which is huge. 230 throwing, 227. So look how balanced they are. Basically 230 on each. 2 good running backs, Ebner and Smith, and Bohannon, a very strong quarterback. So this game to me is even, and you're going to give me, I get 11.5 with the home dog, and that's what really makes the difference is when you get the home dog. Where do I want to go? Here. So you got the home dog there. So this game's even. Baylor with a little better defense, more experienced quarterback, better running, better defense, all around. So I like Baylor in 11.5. They can easily win the game. So you're betting a team that can easily win the game. Like Michigan, Penn State, game's dead even. Either team can easily win the game, so you take the dog. And in this game, I just said Oklahoma, Baylor, pick a final. I come out with 30-27, and I can't tell you the winner. Very close game, very tight game. Notre Dame, lane 5 to Virginia, over under 64. Virginia's quarterback's questionable. So many quarterbacks are questionable this week. All you can do is wait for the Saturday morning or Friday and watch the line. And if the line, Notre Dame's already gone from 4.5 to 5. If Notre Dame goes to 7, bet Notre Dame because the quarterback will be out for Virginia. If the line stays at 4.5, 5, you assume Virginia's quarterback's playing. I still like Notre Dame. They're the B team. Virginia is a over team, but a weak defense. Notre Dame should win this game. It's just what Notre Dame does. They win the closer games, and I can't see Notre Dame losing this game. So Notre Dame even, I think, is definitely the play here against mostly the weak defense. Even if the quarterback plays as a good quarterback, but even against a good defense, a good quarterback, the defense is so bad Notre Dame should light it up. And their Hamilton, I thought was out for the year. Apparently, he's questionable and could play. So keep an eye on that. Wisconsin 24.5 over Northwestern. Wisconsin's so bad. Northwestern's a W team, but not a weak defense. So they give up, like, say, 28-29. Wisconsin, we know, is an under. Terrible quarterback play. Really not much running, just a good defense. I can't go under 41. Wisconsin, so many times this year, you bet them under and they go over. I'm not interested in laying 24 to Northwestern. That's ridiculous. So I'm just going to pass on Wisconsin. Western Kentucky, 18 over Rice. Let's look at Western Kentucky in conference. Western Kentucky. So Western Kentucky's 4-1 in conference, and Rice is actually 2-3 in conference in the West Division. So they're different divisions. Rice's quarterback is questionable, but I don't know that they're playing the guy that's questionable. They have another quarterback. You're laying 18. Why do I point this game out? Rice is a Z team with terrible defense, not much offense. Western Kentucky throws the ball all over the place. But as we see, they need the game. Them and Marshall are 4-1. UTSA on the other half is 5-0. UAB 4-1, and then UTEP 3-2 because UTSA just killed UTEP last week. So this is a game Western Kentucky needs. Playing a Z team, you're laying 18. All you got to do is win by 12 with a team that really lights it up. So I like Western Kentucky here, playing the Z team with the weak defense with a strong over team. Utah, Arizona, very similar game. Let's go to the Pac-10. And in the Pac-10, here we go. Utah is leading the South 5-1. Arizona State's 4-2, and I think Utah beat them head up. And they beat UCLA, who's next at 3-3. It's a really bad league. Oregon's 5-1. Washington State 4-2. Washington's a 3-3 team. Stanford's 2-5. They stink. Cal stinks. Oregon State is a good team with a bad record. They're 3-3 in conference, and they should be 5-1. That's where their defense is having a problem. Utah laying 24 to Arizona. Arizona's first two quarterbacks are out, so they got third-string quarterback issues. Utah's the A team, but a very strong, high-scoring A team since they switched quarterbacks. Arizona, now you got the third-string quarterback. They're a W team. They're not a weak defense in the fact they give up over 30, but they probably give up 28 or 29 to be a W. Utah has to win, and they're scoring a bunch of points. You can lay 18, so you keep it under 20. I think Utah's a good play there. Again, they need the game. They're 5-1. They can't lose and go to 4-2. 5-2, and Arizona State 5-2's them. UCLA, Colorado. UCLA 17. Both quarterbacks are questionable for UCLA. Thompson, and then the backup who came in, who rescued my over in the Utah, is now both of them are questionable. I think I don't know if Robinson plays or not, but he's been out a few weeks. He set out that game, and then they had a bye last week. They're laying 17. The line jumped from 15 to 17. Colorado's an under team. When we look at that, UCLA, now they're 3-3. They got no hope for the conference. Colorado is the 2-4, but they're 3-6 against the number. They don't do much. So look for UCLA to score a lot. The question, Colorado's got a good defense. They're an under team. If the quarterback plays, then I would think this is over because 57. Based on the line movement, I would think Robinson's playing because it went from 15 to 17. Under went from 55 to 57. So we assume UCLA's quarterback's playing. Do you want to lay 11 or do you want to go over 51 is basically the question. Hard to go over with a Colorado team that doesn't score. So let's go to those looks. And so the question is but they got a good under. So let's look. Pac-10. I'm ready to call it the Pac-8. Throw Arizona State out of it again. UCLA. Okay, they score 32 and give up 28. Thompson, we know Charbonnet's good. Brown's good. They get 216 passing, 200 running. So they're a very live running team. More so with Robinson in the game because he's a good quarterback, and then he throws a little bit. Colorado, here's the problem. Colorado only scores 19 a game and gives up 25. So they're between an under and a W, but at 25 and a 19, I'm going to call them an under team. They only throw for 135 and they only run for 132. They only get 267 yards of offense. It's insane. Let's see. What did Colorado do last week? Yeah, okay. So they beat Oregon State 37-34 at home. It doesn't make any sense. Oregon State scores 34 on a defense, but then where does Colorado get 37 points from over Oregon State? Oregon State's defense gives up 27. So I would say based on the way they played Oregon State, that this turns this into an over game based on that they're going to score, although they scored on a weak Oregon State. UCLA's defense is just as bad as Oregon State's, which puts Colorado into the upper 20s, if not 30s. UCLA will get into the 40s with Robinson playing. Put you at a 70-point game. Go over all day on that. I can't lay 11 with UCLA if Colorado's going to score 30, but I then can go over. So that's where you got to analyze. It's hard to just take the numbers. That's why I look back a week to see, has the team changed? Like Miami, right? They were a very weak team. All of a sudden, Van Dyke comes in, and now they're explosive as hell. So it makes it a different team. That's why you go back. And so I like the game over a lot. Arizona State, Washington, as we talked. So let's go here first. Arizona State is a B team. They score 30 and give up 20. So it's a pretty good defense. Daniels at quarterback. They get 430 yards, 225 throwing, 200 running. So they're very balanced against Washington, who we know is struggling. They only score 22. They give up 19. So they have their quarterback stinks, and Morris throws for 200, runs for 1. They get 330 a game with no running and a weak quarterback. Arizona State's laying 5.5. I like Arizona State here. Even. I mean, they're the better team. They're the better, let's see, defensively. Arizona State gives up 20 and Washington gives up 20. So it's dead even. The difference is Arizona State puts up 30 and Washington only puts up 22. So they're touchdown better. Now, how do they travel out of the desert, right? You got the desert team going to play Washington. What do you got there? So it makes it a very difficult, you know how I hate road favorites. It makes it a very difficult play, but when we look at over-under, so we like playing Washington under 44. Under 50 is probably also a good play because Washington will play a low-scoring game. So let's see what Washington did last week. Did they play USC? No, Washington played Oregon. And 26-16. They played Oregon to a 42 with a late touchdown. I had Oregon -1. That was one of my bigger plays last week. Doing about what the same thing here is. Here you got Arizona State going there. So here you got Arizona State going to Washington. And there you had Oregon. Oregon's different because they're more used to the weather. If you get bad weather, Arizona State's a desert. But notice the score, 42, over-under of 51. Now notice how the over-under stumped down to 44. Oregon is a team. They score 35 and give up 22. And as we said, so Arizona State only scores 30 and gives up 20. So it's a little better defense here. I think this is an underplay looking at what happened last week against Oregon. Washington will play a low scoring. They only got into the 40s. Here you got under 50. And I think that's probably the best way to play. Arizona State should win, just like Oregon did. I think it'll be a very similar game, but Arizona State's got a better defense. And I think Washington, I think they got a late touchdown. So I don't see this getting anywhere near 50. This is a good underplay. I like playing the under teams, the Illinois, the Clemsons, Georgia, obviously, under. And I think that's what you have here. A good B team playing an under team. I don't see where Washington's going to score a lot. Go under in the game. Washington State and Oregon now. Again, Oregon needs the game. Let's look at the stats first. So Oregon, they're the A team. Them and Utah are the A teams, right? So they score 35, give up 22, get 440. The same as Oregon State, 441. Unbelievable. They're the same number. They throw for a few more yards, and Oregon State runs for a few more yards. Against Washington State, who has been a passing team. Now, they're an even team. They scored 26. They give up 25. And they throw for a little bit more, 260 to 116. So their defense isn't very strong. Oregon, let's see. Oregon on their injury list lists 14 guys questionable. Some of them are out. Let's say 4 or 5 are out. Let's go to the standings. I think I noticed that Washington State was actually, Oregon's 5-1. They're going to play Utah, provided they win these last games. Now, they just beat Washington. Now, here's Washington State at home, laying 14, over under a 57. Washington State is the second place team. If Washington State wins this game, they're going to go play Utah because they'll both be 5-2 in conference, and they'll have beaten Oregon. So this is a huge game for Washington State and Oregon. So this is a very tight game. I think the 14 is a big number, a little bit too big here. Over under a 57. What do you do with that number? Let's see. So 35-22 for Oregon. Washington State, it's 25-25. Boy, it's a tough one. I almost think you go under with it. I don't know. It's a very questionable call because I think, it's not like they're both going to light it up here, and the importance of the game. Oregon only gives up 22. They did play an over with Ohio State, but it was like 35-28. They only got a 63 with Ohio State. Again, it was the quarterback's second game, so that if they played now would be a little different. But Oregon 14, down to 8. Don't love it. Washington State plus 20. Don't love it. Over 51. Maybe under 63. Don't love it. I don't love anything on this game. This is a game we just watch, I think. I think this is a game for the title, so look for it to be competitive. Stanford, Oregon State. Stanford scores 22, gives up 30. Oregon State scores 33, gives up 30 or 28. You got the over team and Oregon State. Stanford's the under team. Basically a weak defense. They're 29.8. I'm going to call them a weak defense, which means Oregon State is going to go up and down the field. Lane 12 in the game. Let's look at what happened last week. We know Oregon State's off the loss to Colorado, but they play better at home. Stanford. What did Stanford do last week? Stanford. Okay, they played Friday. They lost 52-7 to Utah. So I like Oregon State here because they're coming off of a loss. They're a very good team. They're explosive, and they're playing a weak defense. So I think Oregon State. Oh, they're 12 here. I was looking at Oregon. I apologize. Oregon minus 12. You cut them to 6 at home off of a loss. Stanford, weak defense. Yeah, Oregon State should go up and down the field all day on them. So, like Oregon State, and here's the problem with betting, right? You bet on Oregon State last week, they lose the game. You've got to leave emotions at the gate, as it was, or at the door. So you've got to sit there and go, how do I bet on Oregon State after I lost? That's the toughest thing about betting, is to a team that hurts you and costs you money, but now you got to play them again. But you're looking at Stanford, who's terrible. So I like them under 7. If it goes more, I don't. But again, Stanford's got a weak defense and not much offense. Utah killed them. So you can play Oregon State, but they're further down the list. When people ask me, who do I like here and there? See, I like the over in the UCLA game or the under in the Arizona State game more than I like the Oregon State game. So that's what I'm going to bet versus Oregon State. But I do like Oregon State. And that's where I'll win the Oregon State game and I lose another game. And I'm like, well, why didn't I bet Oregon State? I liked them. And that always gets you when you're trying to decide, where do I put my money? I'm going to drop down. I'm going to forget USC Cal. Both teams are a mystery. Memphis, I don't know about their quarterback. Let's go to Mississippi State and Auburn. Auburn laying 5.5 and 50. Let me just check. Does anybody have questions for me? No. Please ask if you have questions or comments. So Auburn laying 5.5 to Old Mississippi State. We know it's Georgia and Alabama, so Auburn doesn't have a chance to win the division. So if I go to my over-under. So Auburn's an A team, actually. They are a very strong team. I know they lost to A&M last week. So they score 31 and give up 20. Bo Nix, good. They get 420 a game. Old Mississippi State's an even team. They scored 28, give up 25. Will Rogers, no running, so they're just passing. And it's Mike Leach, 375 passing, 56 running. And with this defense, I don't think you can just pass on it. Over under a 50, do you go over? Mike Leach gets 28 a game. Auburn gets 31, gives up 19. They'll be scoring. Let's look at last week's game. What did happen? So Auburn lost 20-3 to a very good defensive team. So now it's going to go on Mississippi State, who I think played a close game with somebody. They lost to Arkansas 31-28. I would say this game will be similar to that. That's a 59. What do we got here? 50. I think you go over 44 is the play. Auburn even. Probably gets the win, but over 44, I think, is a better play because Mississippi State with that offense will score. Auburn scores 31. Auburn will score on it too. So again, I think 44 is a low number in a teaser there. Let's see, UCF and SMU. No key injuries. Well, we know Gabriel's out for UCF. We got an A team and a B team. So let's look at that. UCF scores 32, gives up 24. Again, that's a lot with Gabriel, who's not in. Mikey Keene. I've never heard of a quarterback named Mikey before. 400 yards, 218, 180. So they're running the ball a little bit more. SMU, we know them. They score 40, give up 25. They're just on the edge of being a B team. Mordecai, great quarterback from Oklahoma. 322, 162. They get about 500 in offense. They barely lost to Houston on a kickoff return with 10 seconds left in the game after tying it. When we look at the conference, let's see. So SMU. So SMU's 3-2 in the conference. UCF's actually 4-2 in the conference. They played Houston. Like I said, they tied it up at the end in Houston. UCF at 4-2 in the conference, but they haven't played Cincinnati or Houston. Now they're playing SMU. So here's where it's sometimes deceiving. UCF beating the Tulanes and the South Floridas, but they haven't, they didn't play Houston, they didn't play Cincinnati, and they're 4-2, where SMU's 3-2, but lost to Houston. So I think SMU, well, it's not a must win because they're kind of out of it because they're 2 games back and they lost to Houston. So it's just a matter of looking at the defense. So what happened last week? I know UCF beat Tulane 14-10. What the hell? Tulane has a weak defense. They're both over teams, and it's 14-10. Maybe it was a rainstorm or 75 turnovers. It's hard to say. That's SMU. This is not the Houston. They lost to Memphis 28-25, which doesn't make – Memphis maybe got their quarterback back. Hennigan was questionable. So – but that was at Memphis, but I'm still – but again, so that was a 53. I don't know, UCF. Judging on that, I like SMU at home to just get the win. They've been playing not as strong, but they got a strong offense, so it's a tough one. But I like them at home, and I don't think UCF is a great road team, not without Mackenzie Milton. UTSA as Southern Miss. Love this game. UTSA lane 33, over under of only 54. Makes no sense. Southern Miss is the Z team. UTSA, as we've talked, is undefeated, and they're 5-0. They're 9-0, and they're playing Southern Miss, and Southern Miss is 1-8, 0-5 in conference. So Southern Miss, UAB is 4-1, so they have to win, and then they'll play either Marshall or Western Kentucky. So it's a game that they need. They're at home. They have a great running back. And Frank Harris, good quarterback. It's Sonorsi something is the running back. I can't think of it, but they're very strong. You're laying 33. You cut it to 27. A Z team with a weak defense. UTSA should go up and down the field. 27. Let's see. I think UTSA put up a 50 last week. They killed somebody last week. UTSA, they beat a good UTEP team, an under UTEP team, 44-23. So they scored 44 on UTEP at UTEP, who has a good defense. And if we look at Southern Miss, somebody killed them. Southern Miss gave up 38 to North Texas, who's a W. So this is all UTSA, very strong UTSA play here. Alabama, what are they doing? New Mexico State. How the hell do you lay 51? Over under is 67. If you're going to play the over 67, just play Alabama because Alabama's going to do all the scoring. Mexico State's a Z team, no defense, not much offense. Alabama, we know all about. Didn't lose, but played LSU 20-14. I'm still waiting to see the highlights of that game. I don't know what the hell happened, but I'm sure Saban's not going to be happy with that. How do you lay 51? My spread was 45. I thought you wouldn't see much more than that. Then I could have maybe played it in the 30s, but 51, I got to lay 45 is way too much. 67, you can't play because if you're going to play 67, you got to take Alabama minus 45 because New Mexico State's not going to score. They're a Z team, and believe me, Alabama's going to score at least 3 touchdowns set up by interceptions or strip sacks or punt returns here. So do you get the easy scores? And as I've always said, Alabama finds a way in most of the games to get to the 40s. They didn't last week, was a surprise. And then this is the problem, right? LSU beats Florida 49-42, loses to Texas A&M or something. They lose to Kentucky, they get killed. So LSU's all over the place. So the 20-14 loss was surprising, but this is non-conference. Alabama lost, so they need to win. They will win. They will put up over 40. I'm not sure they get to 67. Maybe they will. But if they do get to 67, that means they're going to win 67-0 because New Mexico State maybe at best gets 7 points. So I don't know. The question is when they bring in the third team up 50 in the fourth quarter, what happens? That's the problem. You don't get the starters in the fourth quarter, so you don't get those late points. So I don't know. I'm not playing this game. If I had to play it, I'd probably lay 45 if I'm thinking of the over. If I'm thinking of under 73, then I take the under, which might not be a bad play because New Mexico State's probably not going to score. Does Alabama get to 70? So if they do, then lay the 45, but I'm not. I'm just passing on it. Georgia, my Georgia, 20-56 over under against Tennessee. The A team of A teams, the best team in the country. They would beat. I'm sure they'd beat Jacksonville and the Lions in the pros. Probably Miami, probably a few more. They're that strong defensively. There's only one way, one look is to play this game under. I mean, 56 under 62. I've locked the under the last 5 weeks, and I haven't even been threatened. Last week, 43-7, I think. And so no, it was like a 49 last week. The over under was 60. My lock was 66, and they didn't even get 50 points. And I would expect the same thing here. Tennessee, Missouri was an over team, but Georgia doesn't put up that 50. See, that's what would scare you. But nobody's scoring on them. Tennessee's not scoring on them. Nobody's scoring on them. Just go under in the Georgia game as long as it's more than 40, and we got 56. We go 62. Take Georgia under. I mean, it's not even a thought. Purdue, Ohio State. Now we're thinking. Ohio State 20.5, over under 61.5. Ohio State has 10 questionable, but they've had 10 questionable all year. And knowing Ohio State, they'll all be playing. Maybe one or two are out, but no key players. So the question is, how good is Purdue? And let's look at the standings. Big Ten. Ohio State 6-0. Purdue is 4-2. Purdue is up with Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Iowa at 4-2 for the West title. All four of those teams. Ohio State, as you know, 6-0, but you got Michigan State, who they haven't played yet, 5-1. Michigan, they haven't played yet, 5-1. Penn State's out of it at 3-3, but Penn State's going to play Michigan and Michigan State. So with all that said, obviously Ohio State needs to win. Purdue needs to win. Purdue just beat Nebraska, Michigan State, and Iowa on the road at Iowa. So they can win it on the road, and then Michigan State, and they put up a 40 on Michigan State, and they dominated the game, really. So give me a score without the point. How bad is Ohio State going to win this game? And that'll help you. So if I go to the stats, come on. Trying to get to the, okay, if I go to the stats, Jesus. Ohio State scores 44, gives up 19. In retrospect, Michigan State scores 34, gives up 22. Purdue beat Nebraska, which gives up 20. So you got Nebraska giving up 20, Michigan State 22, Ohio State 19. Iowa, who they beat, gives up 15. So they put up 20-something on an Iowa team that gives up 15. They haven't played Wisconsin yet. Who did Wisconsin beat last? I think Wisconsin beat Iowa last week. Anyway, so Purdue's beat a good defensive team in Iowa, a good defensive team in Nebraska gives up 20, a good defensive team in Michigan State gives up 22, and now they got a good defensive team in Ohio State giving up 19, and they've had no problem. They clearly beat Nebraska and Iowa in the 20s, and then Michigan State, they put up a 40. Winning at Iowa. I think the Nebraska game was at Nebraska. Yeah, they were. And then Michigan State was at home. And they beat Oregon State. Ohio State 44-19. Ohio State gets 542 a game. Purdue gets 333 passing, 77 rushing. Great coach in the guy from Western Kentucky who really lit it up, who's finally starting to coach. They get 410. But Purdue will get the passing. Let's look at the quarterbacks. I hate getting off this page. Will the Purdue quarterback be on here? Okay, here it is. O'Connell, 71%. And he's got 12 touchdowns and 8 picks. So he's not dynamic in comparison to Ohio State. Stroud, 67%, 25-5. So the Purdue quarterback does 71%, and they're 7.7 average. So what they do is they will put up there are probably a lot of short passes. That's why they don't call them runs, but I'm sure they're design running, short passes, which are runs. That's why the percentage is so high now. So give me a score. We got Ohio State against Purdue. And Purdue with 3 impressive wins. At Nebraska is impressive. For sure at Iowa and then Michigan State. I think Ohio State's going to have to run the ball. Purdue's defense looked pretty damn good. Guess Michigan State for sure. Iowa's weak. Nebraska, not the greatest offensive teams. Over under is 61. Purdue puts up a 40 on Michigan State and in the upper 20s on Nebraska. Now they're not going to hold Ohio State. Ohio State should get in the 30s, but I think Purdue can keep up with them. Based on what they did to Iowa, Nebraska, and Michigan State. They had no problem against real strong defenses putting up close to 30 points, except for last week, 40. At Ohio State, good coach. I don't know what I like more, 26.5 and Purdue's a winner, and over 55 is a winner. Will Ohio State run the ball? But let's look at the Penn State game. It was 33-24 is a 57. Let's base it on that. Purdue will score in the mid to upper 20s at least, maybe the 30s. Ohio State gets in the 30s against everybody. That makes 55 very reasonable. Purdue in 26, they're not getting blown out in this game. So this is a very tricky this is almost a double. I think you can take Purdue in 26. That line seems high, but for comfort, take over 55.5, I think is a little bit stronger. They're both good plays. Again, Ohio State, are they looking ahead at Michigan State and Michigan the next couple of weeks? Probably. I would think they are. I don't know how you get up for Purdue, but you got Michigan State next week and Michigan the week after. Not that they're going to be flat, but they can afford to lose. Purdue has to win. They're 4-2 with all these other teams. You're going to get a good effort, Purdue, and they beat Michigan State, so they're going to score. So I think I love the over in the game as much as I love the 26. I think you go both ways in this game. Let's do a score. 41-27 wouldn't surprise me. Ohio State, they win by 14. You get 68. That score popped into my head. 41-27. So it's close, and then maybe Ohio State gets a late touchdown. But there's no way Purdue doesn't score a lot, and that makes the over very good, but also the 26. I can't see Ohio State. I can't see Purdue falling apart. You can't beat Michigan State like you did and then just fall apart against Ohio State. Michigan State's got a strong defense, and against Iowa. So they played Iowa and Michigan State's defenses are very tough. Ohio State's defense, and the way they get rid of the ball, Purdue, I would think it's a quick passing team. So I don't think you're going to have problems where they're sacking the quarterback a lot. I think they just dump the ball a lot. So look for Purdue to play it close. I don't know that they can upset them, but they can scare the hell out of them. Okay, so Miami of Florida minus 2.5, over under 16.5. The quarterback on Florida State, well, we know Mackenzie Milton has been out. The quarterback on Florida State is questionable. The option dual threat. So he's optional. We know both teams are over. We know Miami is a weak defense, but now they're with Van Dyke. They look rough. Now, I was watching. I had Miami -4 last week. I was watching the replay, right? The 20-minute. Let's look at the game from last week. It's a job. I should have won by 25 points. They fumbled the ball like 3 times. And the only reason I lost is they went for 2 and it got intercepted and ran back. So they win 34-30 instead of winning 36-28 or just going for 1 and winning 35-28. So it's unbelievable that I didn't cover because they screwed up a 2-point conversion play. So if the dual quarterback's out, I love Miami plus 3.5. Otherwise, if he plays, then I really love the over 54. So keep an eye on this. If the quarterback plays, the over will go to 61.5, 62, and Miami will go down to 1. So if the line drops late Friday night, early Saturday, assume the quarterback's going to play, but you never know. Look at Kyler Murray. I thought he'd play for sure, didn't play. So look for that. But if he doesn't play, Milton maybe plays, but he hasn't done anything. He's just so screwed up with his knee. Excuse me. So you're hoping the quarterback plays because this is a real strong overplay if he plays. If he doesn't play, then you got to take Miami plus 3.5, and I like it that way. Miami's quarterback, superstar, absolutely very, very strong. Let's go to. I can't. I'm passing on Arkansas LSU. Who knows? I'm passing on a lot of these Sun Belts. Florida International, Middle Tennessee. Middle Tennessee's quarterback is questionable. Tulsa, Tulane, 2 weak defenses that nobody seems to be able to score on the weak defenses, so you question that. Arkansas State, Louisiana Monroe. Now, I've been all over Louisiana Monroe, locking them and winning with them the last 2 weeks. Now they're a favorite -3 against Arkansas State. I can't trust Louisiana Monroe. They should have beat Texas State, who's terrible, and they didn't. So I'm jumping off Louisiana Monroe this week. They got the 600 yards a few games, and then that kind of fell. So let's see what happens. They should win here. They'll probably win by 20 because I'm not playing them, but I don't think this is a good spot. Arkansas State's an over team. So I don't think it's a good spot to take Louisiana Monroe. -3, get +3. I'm going to pass on that. Over under 66. Both teams with weak defense, and maybe it's an over there, but I'm going to let it go. Fresno State, New Mexico. New Mexico is the Y. Fresno State's the A. Fresno State laying 24. Both quarterbacks for New Mexico are questionable. So if you see the spread jump to 26, then I don't know if the third-string quarterback's playing or what. Fresno State off of a loss. I think it's a must win. Oh, God, I'm so tired. Let's see what the standings say. So New Mexico And okay, so New Mexico, Fresno State. Where am I at? Fresno State is 4-2. San Diego State and Nevada are 4-1, but Fresno State beat Nevada. I think they beat them both. So if they tie, Fresno State will be the champs, and they got New Mexico. Mexico's 1-4, and I think that was against some weak team, and then they're 3-6. And I know one of the wins was New Mexico State, so I don't think they're very strong. Utah State's actually the top team over there at 4-1. Then Air Force and Boise are 3-2. The other side, you got San Diego State, Nevada, and Fresno State. There's some good ball there. Fresno State 20. So New Mexico's terrible. So from this standpoint, yeah, Fresno State off of a loss, needing the game. I like them. I think they'll kill New Mexico. New Mexico's a W. So they should light them up. We'll see. Air Force 2.5 over Colorado State. Air Force is an A. Colorado State's an under. Air Force needs the game. They're 3-2. Utah State's 4-1. And they have Colorado State, who's 2-3, 3-6 overall. But they're an under team. But I don't think Air Force off loss to the Army. Go Army, my Army. I love my Army. Air Force minus 2.5. It's tempting to take Air Force plus 3.5. As far as the 45, probably goes under because Colorado State's an under team. Air Force is going to eat the clock and keep it low scoring. Maybe under there, but the under is kind of low at 45. And then my last one is Nevada, San Diego State. San Diego State lane 2.5. This is A against B. This is basically for the title. They're both 4-1. Let's look at the numbers. So when I look at the numbers, is there anything there? I got Nevada as an A and San Diego State as a B. So let's see. Nevada puts up 36, gives up 24. Carson's strong, and I love him. Strong, great quarterback. 376 a game, 70 rushing, 447. But keep in mind, it's probably a lot of short little passes that are really running plays. Like Joe Montana would do that. He would just throw a little swing pass out, and that would be their running offense. So just because they don't hand the ball off doesn't mean they don't run. And a lot of these short passes are really runs. San Diego State, we know, is an under team. They get 28. They give up 16. They throw for 137. They run for 192. So San Diego State's more of a running team. Nevada has the defense. The games at San Diego State, I love Nevada as the dog, just like when they were the dog to Fresno State at Fresno State and they won. San Diego State, I don't think has the offense to really blow them out. Like Fresno State wasn't blowing out. They're up 10, and Nevada kept coming back. And your only concern is San Diego State running the ball and they can't get the ball back. Playing like an Army or a Navy where it's run, run, run. That's what San Diego State likes to do. They do have a good defense, but so does Nevada. Nevada gives up 24. San Diego State gives up 16. So it's a good one. Let's look at that Air Force Colorado State game. Air Force gives up 17 and Colorado State gives up 22. So Air Force is the better team all around. Let's take Air Force in 3.5 now that I see those stats. Definitely like them. And probably the under 45 to 51, I think, is a good under in the Air Force game. Sorry to change course on you. Back to Nevada, San Diego State, possibly an under. But I like the dog getting 8.5 with Nevada is a very strong bet. That's what you like is the live dog. Now, they lost to San Jose State last week. They beat San Jose State last week 27-24, and San Diego State's quarterback, who is out for the year, played. So Starkville from Mississippi State played. So I'm assuming he's playing this week. So again, there's a live dog. Nevada is huge versus if Colorado State was the favorite over Air Force, I would love Air Force. Fresno State's playing a W team, so they should kill New Mexico. So if we look at New Mexico, they give up 26. So they scored 14, give up 20. That's why they're a W and not a Z. They don't give up over the 30. And their quarterback, South Wilson, are questionable. And they only get 259 yards of offense, New Mexico. So Fresno State should really blow them out. 32, give up 22. New Mexico gives up 26 and 468. Yeah. So that makes Fresno State off of a loss dangerous. And then Nevada, you got to love them as a dog. So you got Nevada, you got the Air Force, Fresno State. We got Miami either plus 3.5 or over, depending on if the quarterback plays for Florida State. We got Purdue over. We got Georgia under. We got UTSA against the Z. We got Baylor getting points as a home dog. We got Notre Dame with Virginia's quarterback questionable. Western Kentucky against the Z team and Rice. And I mean, you can get 20 guys in the poker room to beat Rice by more than 18. Utah 24 against the W Arizona, who Utah's scoring a ton. UCLA Colorado over. We got Arizona State Washington under. We've got Oregon State laying 6 against Stanford. SMU laying 1 against UCF. We got Syracuse and 9, depending on Louisville's quarterback. We got Michigan State -7 off of a loss and a must-win. Houston -19 in a must-win against Temple, who's a Z. The dog in the Michigan-Penn State game, if either of them go 1.5, but I do like Michigan as the dog getting 7, a little bit more. I also like the game over 42, as both teams have good quarterbacks and should be able to put up in the 20s. 42 is 24-20 is a W, and that score absolutely. Minnesota plus 11.5 against Iowa. The Iowa quarterback is out. Coastal Carolina, beware, their quarterback is out. Lay away. Cincinnati laying 23. Their running back Ford is questionable. And be careful. South Florida scoring. Cincinnati's not blowing anybody out, even though they need to blow everybody out for the playoff. They're going to have to beat Houston big to get in the playoff. Pitt 6.5 over North Carolina. That's a real tough one. Over-under is way too high at 72 with Pitt's defense. I think Pitt's defense is the difference. Pitt needs to win. Pitt's the better team here. They're the A team. I like Pitt on Thursday, and heck with this MAC stuff. So that's what we got. One note in the NFL, my man Russell Wilson is playing as a dog against Green Bay. Thank God. So look for Russell Wilson to do his doggy thing. We'll talk pros tomorrow, but you got to love Russell Wilson, and especially as a dog. The fact he hasn't played in a couple of weeks, a month, doesn't really matter. He's a 10-year vet. He's a superstar. So I don't think that's really going to be an issue for him, but I do love him as a dog. Like, hey, Andy, do you like Oklahoma? No, Andy, I like Baylor. I went over that earlier in the video. That's the thing, going over the games and doing it live. I'm talking more to the audience to answer questions, and I'm going over most of the games, so I'm not really looking at the time. And I know you kind of jump in after the first half. So no, I took Baylor and I think 11.5. They're just the better team. They're a home dog. They're well balanced. I just look for Baylor to, again, if you pick the score, I think I picked 30-27 or something like that. I don't see Oklahoma blowing them out. So if they're not going to blow out Baylor, Baylor will stick around, play a very emotional game this week. I definitely like Baylor. I'd be more afraid of Oklahoma State than Oklahoma with that defense. But with the weak defense Oklahoma has, I like Baylor in the points. Any other questions? I don't see. My audience must be eating dinner. By the way, I moved and switched time zones. So to me, I'm on a little bit later, I believe, than I was because of the time zone. I'll be on about this time tomorrow for the pros. Anyway, another boatload. I've been so hot in college, 3-0 on my locks last week. I got to study a little bit more, but I should have at least, I don't know, out of this and not really looking at the pros, I can see at least probably 3 college locks. The more I look at it, and then the pro locks with Russell Wilson as a dog, that could be one of them. I don't know yet, but Aaron Rodgers, is he back or is he still COVIDed? And then all these injuries. Is Murray back for Arizona? And where's that game? If they're at home, they won't win. If they're on the road, they win. Stafford's playing like Stafford at the Lions, which means he sucks. Threw 2 bad interceptions last week. See, that's the problem. He plays like Stafford. You put pressure on Stafford, he folds up. So he's not doing anything. It's got to be Green Bay, Tampa, and Tampa will pressure. Believe me, they'll pressure Stafford. They'll never beat Tampa Bay. I know they beat them earlier in the year, but not now. And then Green Bay will beat the Rams. So they can't stop Aaron Rodgers. So look for that. But that's pro talk. And then, Buffalo, Josh Allen, terrible. I don't know. So anyway, that's what you have. So here's my college, www.teaserking.com. If you want the locks, then don't wait till Saturday afternoon. I had a customer and I didn't really see his email. I was a little bit busy. I had to get my car fixed. And he said, should I play the locks? And by the time I read the email, I said, the locks already won. It was the Georgia under Wake Forest, and they were both on at noon Eastern time. And I think I didn't see it till 3:00. But yeah, you know me well enough by now. And I was given a 29-unit lock. This week's lock, I don't know what it'll be. I know one side, and I am looking at a couple other games to lock. I got to wait on injuries. I could lock the Miami game if the Florida State quarterback plays the way Miami scores and their defense sucks. And then there's a few other teams that have to win, or maybe against Z teams. The Purdue over looks like a strong play. And I'm staying away from Cincinnati. It's like Buffalo and Cincinnati, just stay away. Buffalo got killed yesterday, 45-18. I just laughed. It's like, what happened to Buffalo? But I'll tell you, then next year, you bet Buffalo, because they'll be when you're well coached and you lose. Look at Michigan. They were terrible last year, but then they get pissed off. And Notre Dame a couple years ago was terrible. Michigan State was terrible last year. All these good teams that have a real bad year, they come back with vengeance. And that's what you see. Michigan State, you're seeing really fired up. Buffalo will be that way. Notre Dame last year was fired up. They don't like to lose, and they get really intense and really focused. So keep that in mind. Anyway, so you can see the battle, right? You got all the teams. You look at your whys. Who needs it? How are the teams? How's the matchups? How's the injuries? Then you condense it to, okay, I like Michigan. I like Purdue. I like Notre Dame. I like Baylor, da-da-da-da-da. And then from there, you try to consolidate, okay, what's my top teams to bet? Where's my locks? And then do I bet like SMU? Or I like them. Are they a bet? Do I want to bet them, but I like them? And that's really that's the art of what I do, is try to eliminate. I know I'm going to have losers, so I try to eliminate the losers and bet more on the teams I like, and looking for, like last week was Army was a dog, so I loved it. And then I had the Georgia, and Wake Forest was a dog. So when I really can get a good dog, then that makes it a lock or a very strong play, because then they don't have to win. But if I feel they're better than the other team and they're getting points, then that's what's good. I think Baylor's like that this year. This week, I think they're better than Oklahoma, and they're a home dog. So that, Nevada, Purdue, all those teams like that are very live. Then you look at the team. Michigan State off a loss. Houston needs it, playing a Z. Michigan, they're a live dog. They need to win. Syracuse is a live dog. If the Louisville quarterback, the Miami, Florida State, how's that quarterback? So that's what so now you're waiting on, if I get my wish list is the Florida State quarterback plays and I go over, because I'd rather go over than take Miami plus 3.5. It's better to take the over where two good offenses are slugging it out and there's no defenses, than take a road favorite. And then you got to wonder about Florida State's third string quarterback, or Mackenzie Milton plays and then he lights it up. So I'd rather just know I got my quarterback and I'm going to play, and I'm just going to watch him go up and down the field and score. So that's what you look for. So anyway, that's what I have. Good luck. www.teaserking.com. Come in for the locks, come in for the week, come in for the month, whatever you like. But red hot in college. This I got really down to a science. The pros are giving me fits. Buffalo loses to Jacksonville. What the fuck? That's like Ohio State losing to Northwestern, right? I mean, that's about what happened. How does Buffalo do it? This is what I don't understand. Why don't they watch the Ohio State games and see how Ohio State, you don't know if they're going to pass or run. They go up and down the field. They got a good defense. They rush the quarterback. Buffalo, what were they doing last week? Too much Josh Allen. The guy's not a good quarterback. I don't care. Just because he went to the Peyton Manning camp doesn't make him a Peyton Manning. So anyway, that's college for the week. Tomorrow, same time for the pros. Obviously, much less. I only got 14 games to talk about. But we start getting into who needs the game, who's off of a loss, things like that. So anyway, have a great weekend. Good luck on this weekend's games. Thursday is the North Carolina Pitt game, which I might play. Friday, I'm staying away from Cincinnati, and Wyoming, Boise, I don't care about. So maybe I play Pitt. Otherwise, it'll be Saturday action. And then in the pros on Thursday, we've got Baltimore, Miami, and that's probably going to be a Baltimore play there. Did they lose last week, Baltimore? No, Baltimore, they barely beat Minnesota. So probably see, this is where you got to see if they need the game. Are they going to play or not? Miami stinks. I'd rather see Tagliabue win than Brissett. Actually, Brissett's better. He scares me more. But I think Baltimore should handle lane 7. There's an absolute joke. So anyway, probably Baltimore tomorrow, but I'll talk about that tomorrow. But anyway, good luck, everybody. Have a great weekend, and I wish you well, healthy, and profitable weekend with the Teaser King. Okay, class dismissed. Your assignment, pick the Oklahoma Baylor score. Okay, thank you very much. Have a great day.